Welcome to Sports Tonight here on a Tuesday. I'm sports producer Scott Pennyman, and we have Emily Gagnon joining us live from out at the Braves versus Mets game. Game one of that series getting all kicked off today. Emily, looks like it was a little bit wet behind you. They're gonna start on time. What's going on?
I do believe they're going to start on time, Scott. There is no tarp out there right now. So I think 7:20 first pitch is a safe guess right now. But I'm no meteorologist. You know that. That is not my degree. You had to get too much math for that. So here we are. I do believe 7:20 is good unless it starts raining again.
So when you look about this series right here, the Mets, they really aren't playing the kind of ball that I think was expected of them at this point. I mean, they're a 500 team. I mean, it seems like the Braves should have a good opportunity to get some licks in on a team that was probably supposed to be good, kind of struggling right now. But I think the Braves, I'm thinking sweep. How about you?
So it's kind of interesting, right? They have a 6-game homestand, the Braves do, and they face the Mets, and then they have the Nats. So 2 NL East opponents. Right now, entering the series opener, the Mets are 5.5 games back. At last check, I want to say the Nationals are 10 games out of first place. The only team that might catch up to the Braves right now is Miami. They are 3 games back. So it's interesting because the Braves have been in first place since game one, and they have not been threatened by any team yet in the NL East. And why I say it's interesting is because of the amount of injuries the Braves have suffered so far, yet there's nobody who's competing. The Braves have been down so many key players, and that rotation has been so messed up because of injuries, yet they've been unaffected, and that's because every other team in the division is so god-awful. They are bad, bad, bad. What's interesting, though, manager Brian Snitker told us today that, Smith-Shawver, he is the 20-year-old pitcher, A.J. Smith-Shawver, who you'll want to remember his name. He came in on Sunday when they were at Arizona, down 2 runs, and he allowed nothing. I mean, he literally allowed nothing, gave up nothing. He went out there, pitched for over 2 innings, and he was perfect. At 20 years old, his MLB debut, he absolutely shined. And I'm telling you that because today Snitker told us how young pitchers aren't made like they used to be. They're actually made better because they have so many camps now, and they play in so many international games, and they see so much competition leading up to being in the bigs, that they're significantly better nowadays than they used to be. And this kid, if he continues the way he started, the Braves have a really, really good pitcher on their hands. But we do know that Mike Soroka, he's been sent back to Gwinnett. That happened on Monday. And then also Max Fried moved to the 60-day IL with that forearm injury. So the rotation continues to be banged up, but the Braves continue to have young pitchers who can come in and perform. And this is the latest guy in that young group who's going to have to grow up really fast simply because the older guys, the ace, injured.
But, like you said, I mean, this is a team that has been able to plug in guys and not be able to miss a beat. Plus, with the lineup, you have guys back there that can really swing the bat. So this is just, I think, earlier in the season when I talked about how good I think the Braves were going to be, one of the things I kind of looked at was I think they just have such a sort of a thing for just coming through with clutch hits as much as possible and everything like that. I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to sweep the series. I'm calling it.
With the Mets?
Yeah, I'm thinking sweep. I'm thinking sweep. You're not that optimistic?
No, I'm not optimistic at all because they just faced like one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in all of baseball, in the A's, even though they were on the road, and they almost got swept. And then they had Arizona. So I think, in my opinion, I don't really believe in the Braves right now, but I'm not saying they don't have talent because they have a ton of it. What I'm saying is that they need to get healthy, and I think once they're healthy, they'll be fine. I do believe we'll be talking about them deep into October, but right now, I think they're going through some struggles, and it's fine because we're not even halfway through the season yet. So there's still time to correct things. There's still time to, work your way in and out of that rotation. There's time for all of that. So I don't know if they're going to sweep the Mets. I actually don't think they are. I don't think they're going to sweep the Nationals either. Both of those teams not very good right now. But I just don't think the Braves are there yet. But if they did, that'd be great. And I say that because they've gone 5-5 in their last 10, and so have the Mets. So in my opinion, in their last 10 games, these two teams are very equal.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. That should be a really interesting 3-game series. Coming up here this week, hopefully they can dodge some raindrops and be able to get all these games in uninterrupted. So I tell you what, let's, kind of the talk of the day so far has kind of been the PGA and LIV, right? I mean, just when you kind of look at it, they sort of have entered a partnership with each other moving forward. And I was looking all over social media today. A lot of the golfers are kind of all over everywhere. They don't really know what to think, why this sort of happens. So many golfers have really strong opinions about it. Most of the ones I've seen don't like it. I don't know. What do you think?
I say if you can't beat them, join them. I think that's a good motto in this case. There's been so much drama between LIV and between PGA, and the problem is that some of the best golfers jumped ship from PGA to LIV, and so it was very split, right? Had the majority of golfers stayed with PGA, I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now. But they jumped ship. They wanted to make more money. That's what this is about money. So originally, all these guys left. They went to LIV. They made more money. The PGA guys were like, what are you doing? You make enough money over here, blah, blah, blah. But now I think they're becoming friends because now maybe they can share more money amongst everybody, and then everybody will be happy. I don't think it matters what the golfers think. I think that these two entities need to come together, and they need to share the money, and then the money is going to be plentiful, and then the golfers are going to be happy. So it doesn't matter what they said a year ago at this time when they heard about LIV and heard about the golfers jumping ship and being traders. It doesn't matter, because now let's make money. Let's make money. And Scott, I know you like money.
Of course, and that seems to be the thing. Like a lot of the golfers, of course I like money, of course. But some of the golfers were sort of like, look, LIV was dying. This is what they said. LIV was dying, and you just threw them a life raft. That seems to be like a sentiment among kind of like the old school who didn't want this merger. At least a lot of the tweets I've seen, like you said, I'm sure that they don't care about what the golfers think because this is about money. But it seems like a lot of golfers were kind of just sore about it. And I don't really understand it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we'll learn more as time goes on. And I know how salty so many golfers were when the Masters, right in our backyard, said they would allow LIV golfers to play because they wanted to keep the play, the field of play at a very high level. So they said, we don't care if you're PGA or LIV. We're going to pick the best golfers to come play at the Masters, to play at Augusta, and we'll go from there. And so I know when that announcement originally came out, it was such a big story because PGA golfers weren't feeling it. They weren't liking it. They didn't want the LIV guys to come over who were traders. But it worked out fine. And don't you want to compete against the best of the best? So if you have these guys who jumped ship come back, you'll be able to continue to compete against the best of the best. I think golf needs this. Like, bring some drama, bring some excitement to the sport that's so boring, and let's do this. I mean, it's not very often we get to talk about a golf story being this exciting, especially not in our top 5 stories of the day. I mean, seriously, when's the last time we talked about golf in like the top 5 topics of the day?
That's true.
Probably the last time Tiger did something. The only time that golf is exciting is when Tiger Woods comes through and does something exciting. So LIV and PGA, thank you. Thank you for bringing us some drama. Now be friends. If you can't beat them, join them. That is going to be the phrase that we're going to use when talking about PGA and LIV.
And that's true. Like you said, it's all about the money. That Saudi Arabia money is just different, man. It was a game changer. So yeah, I think being able to merge.
I want some. Give me some.
Being able to merge with that.
Let me hold some. Let me hold some, LIV.
Hey! I want this. I want them to let me hold some too, man. Because like I said, that Saudi Arabia money is just different.
I'll share.
Share it with me. Come on, let's go. Let's go play some golf. Hey,
I'll
look.
share with you. I'll share with Miles. I'll share with Ellie.
Oh,
I'll share with all the guys who make this happen every night. Don't worry, Scott. I'll give you a little bit more than the rest.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And they're over there smiling, too, so I know they want their cut. They want their cut right now. Let's go. Especially Miles. It's been a rough couple weeks for him, so I think he'll be pretty.
I know, Miles. We got to throw him a little bone, don't we? And if we give him a little bit of coins, that'll make him real happy.
For sure. Hey, no, but check out this story right here. So the Atlanta Hawks, they hired Brittany Donaldson. That's their first female assistant coach in team history. I mean, we've come really far. I mean, that's super cool. When, you know, last couple of years with the NBA, you saw, you know, the Spurs, they went in with the female assistant coach, and now the Hawks have done it. I mean, just looking at that, you've got to say that we've come a long way, right?
We have come a long way, and as a woman, I have an opinion, and I'm going to tell you my opinion because that's what this show is all about.
Good.
Listen, it takes guys like Quinn Snyder, like Pop, who was the OG of the movement, to bring women on their staff and to open doors for us to be able to have a meal at the table. So Quinn Snyder, props to you for allowing Brittany Donaldson to have a seat at the table to eat with you and the rest of your male coaching staff so she can show you guys what she has, and better yet, she can better the team. Because I'm sure Brittany is just as qualified as other male counterparts who are on the coaching staff, because he wouldn't have hired her if that wasn't the case. This isn't about a male-female thing. I'm 100% positive Snyder brought this woman on, brought Coach Donaldson on to win. Trae Young, the face of the franchise, after that loss to Boston in the first round of the playoffs, he said, I truly believe that Snyder is going to bring a championship to this city. He said, I believe in him, and I think that he's going to be the one to bring us a ring. He said that. And Quinn Snyder now has to be the one to do that because the star player said it. And when the star player says it, you got to follow through. So now the pressure is on Snyder, and he's got to put together a coaching staff that's going to help this team win and develop players and develop champions. And Donaldson's going to do that. And she's coming here with experience. She's coached with the Pistons and with the Raptors. So, you know what? I don't think he's going to have to coach her too much. She'll go out there on the court, and hopefully players accept her for the coach she is and let her teach them. That's my hope. But good for you, Quinn Snyder.
That's very well put by you, Emily. Look, I just want to reach a time where every sport, every business, no matter who, no matter what, just hires the most qualified person for a job, whether that's basketball, whether that's sports, whether that's anything. And so I think hiring somebody like her is one of those first steps to let's just get the best people in place, get the most out of them, and let's see where this leads us. You know, I mean, we've seen it forever, right? I mean, there's been so many men head coaches, and, you know, we've talked about it with the NFL, about their lack of hiring black head coaches. I just want to reach a day where we just hire the best people because they're qualified to do the job, and not because they're a man, not because, you know, they don't have the right skin color. So I think just in so many different ways, this is pretty awesome to be able to see the Hawks take this step.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this quite a bit off camera, and we agree on that. We want the best person to have the job, but we also want everyone to look different, so everyone who comes to the table can have a different opinion, and when different opinions come together, that's when something great happens. Scott, when you and I argue back and forth about certain things that we don't agree on, we grew up differently, we look different, but our ideas, we create something beautiful once we argue it out. And that's what you want, right? That's what I want.
Absolutely.
I want a world where we can all be on a coaching staff together no matter how we look, and we can disagree on things, but it's a good disagreement because we grew up differently, saw different things, and different things have worked for all of us to get to that point. So if you open any human up, we all have a heart that looks the same. And I think that all the time. I'm like, my heart looks like your heart, looks like Brittany's heart, looks like Dan Quinn's heart. All of our hearts are the same. So let's treat it that way. And again, Quinn Snyder, congrats to you. I think that this is going to be really good for the Hawks and good for the players. Let them get coached by a woman. I'm willing to guess most of them have never been coached by a female before, and she's going to bring a different perspective, and she's going to bring something different to the table that might help them in certain situations, and that might better them, and that's what they need.
For sure. And like we just talked about, Greg Popovich hired Becky Hammond down in San Antonio. She's done a really good job as an assistant coach down there. It opened doors for her to have more and more opportunities. So hopefully with the Hawks hiring Donaldson, hopefully that gives the next woman an opportunity. Hopefully that gives, many people after her opportunities. So now we'll just, like we just said, we'll just look at a person, basically, you'll be hired based on your basketball acumen and your ability to do the job. And once again, not because you're a woman. And look, I think we live in such a more progressive society now than, let's say, 20 years ago. We're obviously not where we want to be, but I think it's a little more progressive than we were 20 or 30 years ago, where I think players will respond positively to women coaching just because I think they respect their game. We've seen NBA players at WNBA games. We've seen NBA players pushing the envelope to make sure that WNBA players get what they need from as far as salaries, as far as private jets and all that stuff. So let's just keep taking these steps year after year, and eventually we'll be where we want to be.
Yeah, and I love when I hear from athletes or coaches who talk about certain firsts in the business, like the first, and this is just me like making things up here, but the first black head coach, the first black GM, the first woman, the first whatever. Everybody I hear from when I talk to athletes or coaches about something like this, they say, I'll be so happy when it's no longer a first and we don't have to talk about it anymore. It's just something that we all know, that we're used to, because at that point, several people will have been hired that look a certain way, and we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Exactly. I mean, I hope we reach a day. Ideally, at some point, we'll reach a day where this is no longer an issue, and that would be a good thing, right? So this next topic here, Emily, is one I definitely picked with you in mind, right? So Netflix is going to produce a documentary about the 2006 through 2009 Florida Gators coached by Urban Meyer. It's going to be called Swamp Kings, and it's really going to take a look at that team and the individuals who are part of those teams. And we've had some different kind of individuals that were a part of those teams, from coach all the way down to players. What do you think about that?
I cannot wait to watch this documentary. I feel like I don't want to say I was part of the documentary because I wasn't, but my sister, she's a UF alum, and she was going to school at that time. And I did not miss a game during their national championship run with Chris Leak and Tim Tebow when Tim Tebow was a freshman. So I am very well versed in that team, and when Jarvis Moss blocked that kick at the Swamp, when South Carolina almost won that game, but he blocked that kick, I still remember the feeling in the stands during that game. This is many years later, and Jarvis Moss, okay, he is the man, like 6'6", was drafted in the first round, didn't do much.
Oh, yeah.
He was drafted by the Broncos, didn't do much in the league, but that defense, okay, and Scott, you know I love defense. That defense was so good. So good. So I'm excited to watch what really went down behind the scenes during those years, and specifically that first year where Urban Meyer took them. And, that wasn't even, quote-unquote, his team. Ron Zook was the coach before Urban Meyer. Ron Zook was the one who recruited all those guys. That was his recruiting class that was playing. I mean, this happens to a lot of coaches, right? You could say that about Kirby, that Mark Richt recruited a lot of the kids that were on Kirby's national championship appearance in his second season at Georgia.
True.
But Ron Zook built that team. Urban Meyer came through, coached the heck out of them. Do you remember his offensive and defensive coordinators?
Ooh, so let me see. Let me think if I can remember. I'm going to go defensive coordinator. Was it One of those coaches, was Charlie Strong, defense coordinator on that team?
Charlie Strong was the DC. Dan Mullen was the OC.
Dan Mullen.
Both of those guys went on to be head coaches. They were so successful in Gainesville. They earned their right to go be head coaches elsewhere. But yeah, what a time to be in Gainesville. What a time. Gainesville is one of the funnest college towns you can go to. Most college towns have a strip where things happen, lots of partying. I will tell you a story from a coach who I will not name, who coached at Florida, and he said, and he's coached at several SEC schools, he said the difference between Florida and other SEC programs and schools is the fact that on a Sunday night, you'll have kids out on that strip partying till they drop, no matter what time of the year it is, while like other schools and other cities, other towns, kids are home on Sundays. Gainesville was litter than lit during those times because not only was the football team winning, Scott, do you remember who else was winning at UF? The basketball team was winning. So you had Florida winning in football, you had basketball back-to-back, and then, the Florida Gators took a little break on the football field, then came back and won another one. So that was the time to be in Gainesville. And yes, I speak for most Gator fans out there. They don't like Urban Meyer. They don't like him at all. And I know you might like him because he came to Ohio State and, he helped you realize your dreams. But most people who are Gator fans think that he's a sellout and that he left because Tim Tebow was no longer there.
Well, I think we've seen that's what Urban Meyer does, right? I mean, he's there. Urban Meyer is there for a good time, not for a long time, right? I mean, when he comes in somewhere, he comes in, he wins, he does what he needs to do, and he gets the hell out of Dodge. So, I mean, that's kind of what his MO has been. But, yeah, I have a lot of memories of that Florida Gators team, being an Ohio State fan. I just knew the Buckeyes were going to win the national championship.
About the best part.
Oh, yeah. I just knew they were going to win.
I'm sorry they did you in there. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I thought, look, that was...
So you remember Jarvis Moss then?
Oh, I remember Jarvis Moss. I remember Carlos Dunlap and those guys.
94.
Yeah, they beat the pants off Ohio State in that national championship game. I mean, Troy Smith was...
Yeah, in Arizona, Scottsdale.
Yeah. Troy Smith won the Heisman Trophy. Everybody just... And I think Ted Ginn, he took the kick return back to start the game, and that was the last moment of any sort of celebration for Ohio State that entire day. I mean, that was Ohio State's introduction to SEC football. They got slapped around that field all day. I remember that game very well. That was pretty depressing to watch, man. I mean, they made Troy Smith's life a living hell that evening. I mean, Jarvis Moss, Dunlap, those defensive linemen, I mean, they didn't have a chance that day. So, yes, I do remember. And the basketball team beat Ohio State in the national championship game as well back then. So, yes, I had a front row seat to what Florida was able to do during that time for sure.
It was a good time to be a Florida Gator, I got to tell you that. Now it's a good time to be a Georgia Bulldog. But back in those days, it was great to be a Florida Gator. Great. We had so much fun. That football team had so much fun. That city, I'm telling you, so much fun. So, yes, I will be front row and center, kind of like you were, to see your teams get beat. I'll be front row and center to watch this documentary. And I hope Jarvis Moss is on it. And I hope he talks about all the things he did to y'all.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. And then, of course, there's the other storylines with guys like Tim Tebow and Aaron Hernandez, who, so there's going to be a lot to pay attention to when that documentary comes out because that team was full of characters on the coaching staff and it was full of characters on the football field. So last up here, Emily, let's get to what's on your mind. What's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind, I guess, since we just talked about college football, is college football. I talked about it with Fred yesterday when you were off. I hate when you're off, Scott. I mean, I just think we have such a good thing going.
Thank you. I love
we talked about
chemistry.
I mentioned that who might upset the Dogs this upcoming season, and I'm sure you don't have their schedule in front of you, but I said if one team was going to, I thought it might be Ole Miss because you just never know with Lane Kiffin. You never know what that guy's going to bring to the table when it comes to offense. And his offense is a high-powered offense. They're fast. So I was like, I'm a little nervous about that, even though Ole Miss is coming to Athens. Fred said, "Nah, I'm not nervous about anything. I think they're going to win the whole season again, go undefeated," and they very well could. But I'm excited now about Florida, Georgia. Like, let's do this. What's on my mind is, will Florida be able to hand it to Georgia this season? I don't think it's happening. It hasn't happened in a while, but the only time that I've watched Florida beat Georgia, it would have been the year that Florida went to the SEC championship game and got spanked by Lee's Crimson Tide, which I think was 2020.
Yeah.
But that was only one of 2 seasons since Kirby took over in Athens that the Dogs weren't in Atlanta for the SEC championship game. But I do expect Georgia to pull it off.
Yeah, well, they also have to go to Tennessee as well. We'll see what Tennessee is all about this season. They lost some guys
I'm
too.
not nervous about that.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess that just boots Tennessee.
They don't have
out.
Hendon Hooker. Who's their quarterback?
Isn't it Milton? Joe Milton? Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm not worried about it. Like,
Okay.
I got to see what they got.
That's fair.
What they got, because right now I just feel like that's why we were so scared of them last year. Hendon Hooker did such a good job.
That's true.
Then he got injured, and yeah, that was no fun when he got injured, because Tennessee then was basically forgotten. But it's okay. I'm sorry, Brett. Is Brett listening? I need to apologize to everybody on a daily basis for talking about their team.
We gotta get Brett back over here, man. He's gonna wrap us up anyway. But yeah, that's kind of yeah. I mean, let's just.
What's on your mind?
I know Brett isn't happy about that. What's on my mind tomorrow? Look, I'm an NBA guy. NBA Finals Game 3 tomorrow from Miami. We'll see if Denver can grab back hold of that series. I'm looking forward to it. I think they kind of had a hiccup in Game 2. Maybe didn't come out with the intensity that they needed to. I think Denver maybe started smelling himself a little bit too. I mean, just with some of the comments coming out of Game 1, you had Aaron Gordon talking a lot, and we had the coach kind of talking. I think that team maybe smelled himself a little bit, maybe got a little bit overconfident going into Game 2. You saw they weren't even respecting Miami Heat shooters. They were kind of letting them shoot, and the Miami Heat is the kind of team, they will make you pay. So, and now they're going home with a lot of momentum, with a lot of confidence for Game 3. So Denver better watch out, because if they don't come into Game 3 with some intensity, Miami has shown they can take a hold of a series and put you away. So that's what they've done to get to this point. So hopefully, for Denver's sake, they'll come into that game a little more serious in Game 3 and stop smelling themselves and understand what it takes to complete a championship mission.
I love it. Let's get it, Heat. Let's get that LIV money. Let's pass it out in the newsroom, specifically to you, Scott, and to my man Miles for having to put up with me and me constantly picking on him, but I'm into all of it.
Yeah,
Let's
Miles
get
my
it.
guy. Miles my guy. So I know you have to get off that field out there so the Mets and the Braves can take the
Guard
field
your man.
tonight and
Get your
ready to-
rebound.
and get ready to get to action, all right? Emily, thank you so much. You had a lot of great things to say out there. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Sounds good. See ya.
Later. See you guys.